What's going on, everyone? So in today's video, we're going to be starting a new series up until the NFL draft, and that is going to be a prospect spotlight, where we take a look at a particular prospect, the need for the Green Bay Packers at that position, the prospect's strengths and weaknesses, where they project in the draft, and look at a few pieces of tape from that player. I'll plan on doing this once or twice a week, just depending on the flow of things and, of course, which prospects we want to take a look at. So if you want to see a video on a certain prospect, definitely go down in the comments and comment who you want to see. And of course, if you happen to be a new viewer here, there's tons of Packers content right on this channel, from the draft, free agency, salary cap, and any other piece of news that happens on the Green Bay Packers. You'll find it all here on this channel. So go down and click subscribe if you haven't already. All right, so for today's video, the first episode of the prospect spotlight is going to be on Tennessee running back Jaylen Wright. And you might be thinking, hey, running back's not a massive need for the Green Bay Packers. And I would agree that safety and cornerback, more so nickel cornerback, is definitely a bigger need and likely going to be their target in the first round. But Jaylen Wright is a prospect I'm very intrigued by because he reminds me so much of Aaron Jones. And the Packers are going to be players in this draft for a running back in the middle rounds. And Jaylen Wright's been climbing up boards. He's a lot of people's running back 2 right now behind Jonathan Brooks, and I would have to agree. He very well could go in the back end of the second round. I have him right around that third round mark, so the Packers very well could be selecting a running back such as Jaylen Wright right around those spots. We know the Packers want to keep Aaron Jones for 2024. It's been ongoing right now that they're trying to rework his contract, whether that's through an extension, but essentially is going to end up being a pay cut. We'll see exactly what happens there. I fully believe Aaron Jones will be the Packers running back in 2024. Reports came out that they're pretty much going to let A.J. Dillon walk, or at least test free agency. Now, that doesn't mean he won't be back. That just means if he gets a good offer from another team, the Packers likely won't match that. They're going to let him go to free agency, test the market, and if he's not getting any great offers, then maybe he'll be back in Green Bay. So again, the Packers are definitely going to be looking at adding another running back, whether that's through free agency or the draft. My best guess would be the draft. It's cheaper, it's easier to do. Running backs have great value in the draft. Not only for a backup this year, but for the future years, for a starting running back. So as I stated, today we're going to be looking at Jaylen Wright, one of my favorite running back prospects. I've mocked him to the Green Bay Packers, I believe, in 1 or 2 mock drafts because I like him so much. He's probably my favorite running back in this draft class, and that's why I wanted to start off this series with him. All right, so before we dive down into this prospect spotlight, I want to give a big shout out to BetUS, of course, for sponsoring today's video. And right now on BetUS, with the link down in the description and using code JOIN125, you can get a 125% deposit bonus on your first 3 deposits up to $2,500. It's an unheard of deal. The link is down in the description with code JOIN125. BetUS is also known for great 24/7 customer service and 24-hour payouts. And on BetUS right now, you can actually bet on the NFL draft. So right now, the first overall pick, you can bet on that. Caleb Williams is minus 1,100. So it seems like everyone believes that the Bears are going to go quarterback at number 1, or at least trade it, and another team's going to come in and select Caleb Williams at number 1. So that much has been pretty much locked in, it seems like. Caleb Williams at number 1 overall. But you can also bet on the first non-quarterback selected, which the odds right now are in the favor of Marvin Harrison Jr. at minus 650, which I would have to agree. I do believe he will be the first non-quarterback selected. But if you think someone else on this list will be the non-first quarterback selected, you can then bet on them as well on BetUS. Again, the link is down in the description. Code JOIN125 to get a 125% deposit bonus on your first 3 deposits up to $2,500. Again, thank you so much to BetUS for sponsoring today's video. All right, so now let's dive down into Jaylen Wright, and I'll try to show you guys why he's probably my favorite running back in this draft class and why I would love for the Packers to draft him in either their second round pick or the 3rd round. Obviously, I think a 3rd rounder would be better value. I'm not too high on drafting a running back in the 1st or 2nd round, and if someone goes out and selects Jaylen Wright in the 2nd round, so be it. I think 3rd and 4th round is kind of that hot spot if you want a really good running back for also really good value. So Jaylen Wright out of Tennessee, he's 5'11", 210 pounds. He's a junior. He'll be 21 years old, I think, by draft night. And the bottom line here, which is basically like an overall summary on Jaylen Wright. Wright is an NFL caliber athlete for the running back position. His youth is both a positive, lack of mileage, and a negative, lack of consistent running back vision. But he has succeeded in both gap and zone blocking concepts and has top tier pass protection ability for a 3-down potential in the NFL. That's very important. We know how the Packers prioritize their running backs being able to pass block. And I have a couple clips today from his tape, and it shows why he's very applicable to be a pass blocker at running back, which is a very important thing for the Green Bay Packers. And on the right here, it says Wright brings plenty of speed and explosiveness to the running back position. At Tennessee, he became the team's leading rusher as a sophomore in 2022 and wasn't even the Volunteers' leading back. His calling card is explosiveness. His first step, whether that be linear or lateral, is eye-popping. He follows that up with an NFL-level top gear to eat up a ton of open space. As a receiver, he has good hands, while his explosiveness makes up for a sharp route runner. He was one of the best backs in the country in pass protection last season due to his size and strength. So moving over to his stats, you can see, man, his PFF grades last year, 91.0. He had 136 attempts for 1,010 yards, a 7.4 yards per attempt, 4 touchdowns, also 22 receptions for 141 yards, rushing grade of a 91.2, zone grade of an 88.8, elusive rating 132.2, one of the best elusive ratings in the country, gap grade 85.0, yards after contact per attempt, a whopping 4.35s. He had 592 yards after contact this season. That's more than half of his yards. His total yards is at 1,010 yards. More than half of his yards were after contact, tied for 70th in the nation. Missed tackles, forced 43, tied for 78th. 19 carries of 15 plus yards. He was an extremely explosive runner. That's tied for 21st. And also yards per route run in the receiving game, 1.32, tied for 48th with only 1 drop. We got to take a look at his RAS. We know how the Green Bay Packers and Brian Gutekunst love their athletes. And although Gutekunst might say he doesn't know what RAS is, the general concept of having an athlete profile and drafting those guys makes sense for at least the Packers and Gutekunst. They tend to draft guys with above a 9.0 RS. It's not an exact rule, but if you look at the past, that's kind of what it's been. So he has a 9.82 RAS. He hit a 4.38 40-yard dash over the weekend, which I think just raised his draft stock even higher. 20-yard split of 2.55, a 10-yard split of 1.55. Again, a little bit undersized, and this is why I compare him so much to Aaron Jones, and I'll show you the RAS comparison as well. 5'10", 210 pounds. You know, the composite size grade is okay for a running back, but explosion, elite. 38-inch vertical and 11'2" broad jump. So if you do bring up this comparison profile, we see Aaron Jones out of the 2017 draft, a 9.33. Jaylen Wright, beats him at a 9.81. He is more athletic than Aaron Jones, but he's so similar to him in my opinion. Aaron Jones 5'9", Jaylen Wright 5'10". As for weight, right around the same, 210 to 208. 40-yard dash, Aaron Jones didn't run that fast in the combine, 4.49, where it's like Jaylen Wright has a lot more speed, it seems, but I think both of these guys are extremely fast, a 4.38. 20-yard split, about identical. 10-yard split, about identical. Vertical, about identical. Broad jump, Jaylen Wright more, 11'2". Aaron Jones, 10'7". So Aaron Jones fell all the way to the 5th round. I think because of Jaylen Wright's 40-yard dash and a little bit better explosion, he's going to be a 3rd-round pick. He very well could be a 2nd-round pick as well. So it seems like a more explosive, faster Aaron Jones in terms of measurables right now. All right, so now let's dive down into some film from Jaylen Wright. I have a few clips from 3 different games this past season. And on this first one, I'm going to start out with a bang, and I'm going to start out with a long touchdown run by Jaylen Wright. Now, the Tennessee offense only ran shotgun, so it's all out of shotgun, all this film, and of course the Packers, don't just run out of shotgun, but I think he'd be fine in the Packers offense. They run a lot of RPOs as well, which we know the Packers run as well. So he's going to get a handoff up the middle here, cut right, make one guy miss, and then it's that top end speed, that burst to get away from all these other defenders where most running backs would have been caught at that point. It's it's getting out of contact, getting upfield, and then hitting that next gear and just bursting through. So making someone miss right there by cutting outside. Again, very Aaron Jones-esque to make that one cut, make one guy miss, and then burst up the middle of the field here. So you can see this top end speed hitting that next gear and just completely blowing by these Kentucky defenders for the score. On this play, it's going to be a quarterback design run with Joe Milton here, a power to the left. You see Jaylen Wright right in front of him, and he's going to go and take out this safety. So just kind of showcasing his blocking ability. Yeah, this is on a running play, and the Packers really don't have any plays designed for Jordan Love in this regard, but it just shows Jaylen Wright's willingness as a blocker. As you see here, getting upfield and putting a block on that DB and really knocking him over. Now, he ends up kind of in the same vicinity as Milton here on this running play, but Jaylen Wright's willingness as a blocker, getting upfield and just attacking this defensive back and throwing him down to the ground, just love to see it. Here's another run against Kentucky, again, just showcasing his explosive ability. He kind of gets stopped right there, right? There's like really no running lane. He has to bounce it outside, but his quick burst ability, be able to put one foot in the ground and make that burst is next level. And you see he does it here against that nickel corner and just puts him on ice skates and gets around him with just one foot in the ground and exploding to the outside. Will that work as well at the NFL level? You know, kind of going east and west rather than north and south. Hey, it works for Aaron Jones. You know, he knows when to bounce outside and then when to cut upfield. And I see that a lot from Jaylen Wright and a lot of his film from last season. Here in this clip, this is the most Aaron Jones-esque run of them all. It's just a simple run up the middle, make a guy miss, and just burst, you know, north up the field. But to me, it just looks identical. And I want to know your guys' thoughts down in the comments. Do you believe this run right here is identical to an Aaron Jones-esque run? Making that one guy miss, just still staying north and south, just exploding up the field. Just to me, this looks so much like it. I know I sound like a broken record, but this run right here, man, like, that's Aaron Jones, like 100%. Here in this play against Florida, this is a rough game for Tennessee, but one of his better graded games, actually. I believe Florida was a good graded game, and then also UConn, which we have a couple clips from. But this is going to show his willingness to be a pass blocker and really stand in there and deliver a really nice block on a linebacker blitz here off of a stunt to locate that stunt and then stick that blitzer there, who had been a free rusher on the quarterback, is very impressive here. You see, he had a shotgun. You see a stunt there by that linebacker, and Jaylen Wright just sticks him. It's very impressive, right? You know the Packers really want their running backs to be able to block in the passing game, so it's really nice to see this. A lot of times you'll have an athlete or a great runner at the college level, and they're not great blockers, or they never really had to block. But that wasn't Jaylen Wright. That wasn't the case for him. He was a very willing pass blocker and an excellent one of the better ones in the country, as it stated. Just very, very impressive rep here by Wright. Here we have a run against Florida where, kind of similar to a couple plays ago, there's really no running lanes up the middle. He has to break that outside. Again, he has great running back vision. He gets real low here where it's like some of the defenders couldn't even see him behind the offensive line, and does a good job bursting outside and getting around this next defender and then getting north, right? He has very good vision and capability to, hey, I got to bounce outside, but I know when to go north and south rather than just keep going outside, outside, outside. Right there, that cut upfield, and then carries that defender a few extra yards. Here is another big play by Jaylen Wright. Again, a simple, like, inside zone out of shotgun type of run, but man, first he just throws off that potential tackler and then just bang, right into next gear, just completely blowing by all these rest of these defenders for a massive touchdown. Again, just his ability to create yards after contact, throwing off would-be tacklers, and then turning on to the next gear and burning by all these defenders, man. Again, it's not going to be the same case in the NFL, right? Defenders are a lot faster than UConn defenders in this game. I get that, but it's what you see on film, and his ability to shrug off tacklers, but then at the same time as that, turn on the next gear and get upfield and again, blow by all these defenders. Super impressive. For this last play, I just included it in here because it's something Tennessee did a lot, kind of a bubble screen off of a motion to Jaylen Wright. And it's not a huge gain by any means. He does a good job. You know, he's dead to rights there, getting around that defender. Would that happen in the NFL? Maybe not. But I wanted to include that clip because Tennessee did this a lot. They ran a lot of screens screens to Jaylen Wright. They ran a lot of bubble screens, and a lot of the time it was a broken play. They didn't block well. It wasn't schemed well against the defense. And a lot of the times watching the Tennessee games in terms of Jaylen Wright film, very boring, very not really prepared scheme in my opinion on the offense. So you can't hold that against Jaylen Wright when he's running something like this, when these two wide receivers do a horrible job at blocking and free linebacker on him, and luckily he gets around that, just showcasing his athletic ability. But they ran this a lot, so he's a very willing or capable running back in the receiving game as well, which, again, we know the Packers want to have. So that does it for all the film I have on Jaylen Wright. Again, I see Jaylen Wright kind of going in the 3rd round. I don't see him falling to the 4th. I definitely could see him sneaking into the 2nd round here. It very well could be the top running back taken with Jonathan Brooks coming back from that torn ACL. That very well could be the case. Will the Packers spend a 2nd round running back or a 2nd round pick on a running back yet again? I mean, they did it on A.J. Dillon, so if they like a guy enough and they really like Jaylen Wright and the prospect of him being, our next running back of the future, I'm all for it. Now, I know Gutekunst went on record saying they want to have a guy that can, a big bruiser type of back where it's he gets better as the season goes on in cold weather and people don't want to tackle him. But the Packers very well could draft 2 running backs or sign one in free agency and also draft one. I know they want a bruiser back to complement Aaron Jones, but man, if Jaylen Wright's sitting there in one of their 3rd round picks, I think you bring that card up with Jaylen Wright's name on it out of Tennessee. I want to hear your thoughts down in the comments below. Who's your favorite running back out of this draft class? He's my favorite. Let me know what you think of Jaylen Wright, and if you would like the idea of the Packers, say, drafting him in the 3rd round. Let me know in the comments below. But that about does it for this video. Again, let me know what prospect you want me to look over next. I'll either do another episode this week or look for it next week. I'm going to do as many as I can, of course, until the draft. We're under 2 months away, so I'll get as many of these as I can with prospects that, I could see ending up in the green and gold. Let me know who you want next down below as well. But I'll catch you on the next one. Thanks for watching, and as always, go Pack Go.